we've got our transmission all ready to go in. This is a rebuilt transmission by Mr. Gas in, what is that? Just outside of Pueblo, Colorado. I'll put the link in the description again, or just below me here. But we've got our clutch cable guide on. We've got a new ground cable on. We've got our rear baffle, I don't know what you want to call that. I didn't put on a new rear mount because I had already put new mounts on, and we got our front mount on. And I'm doing some modifications to mine. Don't pay attention to that. I've also put on a new starter. This is one of the $50 starters from O'Reilly's. Lifetime warranty, good to use, especially when starting an engine first time, where you may have to crank it over and over again. They'll just take it back and replace it for you. I do have an original high torque starter for a bus that I'm having rebuilt to put on here, which is really nice because it turns over nice and fast and starts this engine great. But all that is ready to go in. Getting my engine compartment ready, and I'll put out the jack and we'll get this in. Oh yeah, and we have a brand new throwout bearing also, sometimes called the release bearing. So a lot like putting in the engine, we've got the transmission up on its jack and ready in the engine compartment and bay here, and we're just going to lift it above the forks here and line it up with the hole that our shifting shaft goes through, and our selector shaft, and the mount goes on. Right back there. And it's not too hard. I'll try not to stand in the way too much when I show this. I'm sure I'll totally be in the way here, but since you're looking right down this way, I'll try and stay over here and let the jack. And I'm just going to lift this up. The problem is, it doesn't like to sit on there very well. So you got to do a lot of holding with your hand as we slide this back. We're just going to kind of line it up. And not a lot of finesse here. I got a little high. There we go. I'm precariously sitting there. My jack. There we go. Came off. There we go. Okay. So now I want to go underneath, and I want to line up the holes for the mount and everything, and get everything squared away up here too. I'll bring you back once I get all that stuff in. Okay, so we got the transmission up in there. We got our big bolts here, torqued to whatever your manual specifies. We've still got to put on the clutch cable. The clutch cable here, and do some other routing. We got to put the battery cable back on. It's hanging there. And also I'm going to put on the reverse lights. I'll show you that here in a second. So on this end you've got a 17 mil bolt there, and where is it? One around the other side. There it is. And then you've also got to reconnect your starter up here. I put the starter on just with its one bolt, that bottom one where there. I put it on before I put the transmission in, and I swore as I slid the transmission in I was going to put the reverse lines on. They're hanging down right there, you can see it there, and it goes way back on this end of the transmission. Where does it go? Keep going. Wait, way up in there somewhere. There it is. And that's really hard to do with the transmission all the way in. But I've done it before. Long needle nose pliers, you can get it on there. I've just got to get my face there where I can see it. But essentially, you know, we're in. We've got the whole transaxle in the car. Next is the engine. I think we're going to put the engine in today. I've got the rear end all tidied up, got the axles put back on and the brakes done and everything else back there. I guess it didn't do the brakes, it did the bearings. And then I've got the car up on jack stands, but you can see I've also got my jack underneath right behind the transmission there with a crappy old spare on it. It's got a bent rim. I don't care. That's just give me some extra room. People use blocks and stuff. I think that gives me a bigger platform using that old tire and wheel like that. So we'll get this lifted up and slide this in, and I'll set up the camera on the tripod and you can watch all the fun. Oh, we're on my jack stands. Good. Okay. That's where we want to be. I think we're a little too far over that way. Got our seal. Kind of going the wrong way here. Get that sorted out a bit. Really. Yeah, we're close. We're going in. Make sure the bottom bolts are lining up where they're supposed to be. We're in there. We're in there. I think we're going in. I use an alignment tool on the clutch, so I know it's right. It's just going to take some wrestling to get it to sit in there right. Brand new Glen nut's probably kind of tight, but it'll go. Just got to wrestle.
Up, down, in, out. Go get it.
I'll fight that some more and bring you back in once we've got it in. All right, and with enough fiddling, you know, you gotta get the jack exactly up or down in the right spot. I hit that sweet spot and went shoom. Took me about 10 more minutes though, and you didn't want to watch that. So slid right in. I still got to hook up some stuff. I got a couple wires hooked up now. The main thing is getting all these nuts and bolts on. So underneath here, you've got one. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. You got one there on the driver's side. That's just above the transmission mount. And there's an equal one on the other side. The two hardest ones is the one right there behind the clutch cable. And then there's one over there, you can see it on the back of the starter, that little D-shaped end. Those two are just bolts that go through. Now my engine, supposedly on this one, it's supposed to have a captive nut that's cast into the block, into the case. No go. This was a converted case, probably a 1500 converted to a 1600 dual port. Not sure though, but this case does not have that captive nut. So the best thing is to have a friend hold on to these bolts, or actually help turn this one. That one, just hold on to it so it doesn't slide back out. And then up top here, we'll get some light in here so you can see. Up top here, you can see the end of that one above the starter. That one's not bad. You can get that on pretty easily. You can get a regular wrench in there. The one that's bad is over there underneath the accelerator cable. Focus, focus, there it is. You can't get to that from the top very easily. So here's what I did. I have got a very long 17 millimeter wrench. I bought these specifically to do this kind of job, and I set it to where, there we go, it was tightening. I put the nut down in there and put a piece of duct tape over it, stuck it on there. Went over to that side of the engine, put this wrench underneath there, lined up with the hole, and my assistant pushed the bolt in and spun it, and I could feel it catching on the nut in there. And it worked perfectly. She had a wrench, tightened it up the rest of the way to snug. I used this to torque it down a bit. Don't know what the torque setting is and how you're going to get a torque wrench in there anyway. So this thing is, 14 inches long. So, 50 pounds out here is going to be, close to 60 pounds. Probably enough. Probably too much. But it's good and tight, and it's snug on there. That's how we got it in. So now I just need to hook up the wires and put everything else on, and we'll see if it starts. Ugh. Well, I didn't even get a chance to film anything. It started right up. So once I hooked everything up, put it on, I turned the key, and after cranking for a little bit, checked the oil pressure was good. I connected the positive wire, and boom, it just started. So here we are. So that's how to get your engine in and get it all back together. I have no idea what I've shown in this whole series, but I know I rebuilt the top end, and we cleaned everything up. We put electronic ignition on. Follow the instructions on that. I didn't want to do a video on that, and we've got it all together. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.